Yes. So we're going to be discussing something that is raining. A popular celebrity came out to announce that she has been diagnosed of stage 4 cancer, and further asked the general public to support her, to help her financially, for treatment and surgery, overcome the ailment. Okay. And because of her past history of coming out to lie, what happened? What do you think happened? Raya, what happened? I tied a scarf on it. Yeah. So, because it's been on record, her past, from her past incidents, she would come out online and say something, and finally it turns out to be a joke, turns out to be a scam, turns out to be for cloud chasing. So they thought that she is actually using this her health status for chasing clouds. Okay. And a lot of people have told her to post her medical report so that they could support her, if to find out if she's actually sick, because she said she has been diagnosed of stage 4 cancer, but she doesn't look it at all. If you look at her, she looks really healthy. So a lot of people are doubting the fact that that is so. Please. Yeah. Please just give me 1 minute, okay? Hello, can you hear me? My friends, can you hear me? My good friends, can you hear me? Hello, hello. Hello? Hello? Oh, I'm glad. I'm glad I'm audible. Okay, so a lot of people did not believe her, because they felt that since she has been lying before, that she's also lying. And people started asking, okay, so if it turns out that she told a lie to get money from the general public, she used sympathy, she cajoled the general public to send money to her for her health. And people are usually emotionally touched and moved when it comes to issues like this. When you say that you are not feeling fine, a lot of people will want to support you so that you could recover, feel better. So a lot of people now came out to ask, what if it turns out that this is one of her cruise as usual, this is one of her cloud chasing as usual? That what are the legal implications of that action? And I'm here to discuss, if it turns out that Blessing CEO is her name, if it turns out that Blessing CEO was not actually sick, or she was not diagnosed of any cancer, and she just wanted to defraud the general public of their hard-earned money by using that method of emotional blackmail, to defraud. What are the legal implications? What does the law say? Now, the law says in section 419, is a popular provision of the criminal code that provides for obtaining by false pretense. Section 419 of the criminal code provides for obtaining by false pretense. What does the said section say? The section says that provides that if a person defrauds the another person of either his money, his land, his resources, or anything with an intention to defraud the person by giving the person a false information which he or she knows at the time he was giving that information to be false, that the person is criminally liable and guilty of a felony with 3 years imprisonment as the punishment. Now, let us look at the scenario before us and compare it with the ingredients. That's what one must prove when bringing an action for obtaining by false pretense. What must the prosecution prove? For example, if someone has innocently, out of pity, donated some money to Blessing CEO for her health, and it turns out that she's actually very healthy, there's no cancer, and she's good, she's not going for any surgery, and the person feels aggrieved, what must that person prove prove beyond reasonable doubt to succeed in his claim for obtaining by false pretense? Now, one of the things that the person must prove is that there was a false representation. The person must first prove that there was a false representation, that Blessing CEO came out to say something that was wrong, something that was false, and he innocently believed it, heard it, believed it, and acted on it. So there was a false representation. Secondly, the person must prove that Blessing CEO knew at the time that she was giving that false information. She had a knowledge. She knew that it was false. Okay? Now, the person must prove that he himself, hello, Famil Russo, how are you? So good to have you here. Thank you for coming around and joining my live stream. How you doing? Fami, are you French? Okay, while you respond, I'll continue with what I was saying. So the person must also prove that the person who acted on the information that Blessing CEO gave, acted on it innocently. He did not know. He assumed it was true. The person must prove that he assumed it was true and acted on it. So that, but Blessing knew that it was false, and she continued to peddle that information just to defraud the public. And then thirdly, the person must prove that that Blessing CEO had an intention to defraud the public. The person must prove that the intention to defraud, yes, must prove that Blessing CEO had the intention to defraud the public. And then the person must prove that the victim, relied on the information, that he relied on it. I've said it before. He relied on the false pretense. He relied on the lies. He relied on the false action and acted accordingly. And that was why he acted on it. And then finally, he must prove that he parted with something as a result of his reliance on the information given by Blessing CEO. He must prove that he parted with something, either with money or with property or with, something, with land, with house, something, that he parted with something. He gave Blessing something as a result of his reliance on her evidence or on her false representation. Okay, now these are the 5 things the person must prove before he succeeds in his claim for obtaining by false pretense. And how must he prove this? He must prove this beyond reasonable doubt. That is the standard required in every criminal trial. In order to succeed in his claim, he must prove beyond reasonable doubt that these things happen, this chain of events unbroken. Okay, there was, so that when I mean unbroken, let it not be that at some point he now knew, and even when he knew, he now said, since Blessing CEO wants money, let me just dash her something. If at that point, if at some point he knew, if at some point the chain of these events gets broken, then he will not succeed in his claim. He wouldn't succeed in his claim at all. If at some point he knew and he still continued, or he still went ahead to part with his property, even when he knew that she was defrauding or she was lying, then he will not succeed in his claim for obtaining by false pretense. Okay? Now, another thing too is the fact that the fact that the pretense must relate to an existing or past fact. Like in the case of Blessing CEO, the pretense must relate to an existing or past fact. It must not relate to something that will happen. It must not relate to something that is in future. You must prove that it relates to something that is existing or something that has passed. Okay? Okay, so now what is the punishment? The punishment is, like I said, 3 years imprisonment without an option of fine. 3 years imprisonment, because it's a felonious offense. The accused, if found guilty, will be liable to 3 years imprisonment. Okay, so the question now is, with the look of things, because we have not yet confirmed that this incident or this story that Blessing CEO came out to tell the general public that it still is a lie, because I've seen her medical reports all over the place, all over the internet. I've seen her medical report. I don't know if it's also fake. I don't know how true it is. I've seen it all over the internet, and I don't know if the medical facility has confirmed that actually that medical report emanated from them. I'm not sure. But the question now is, with the facts at our disposal, is Blessing CEO guilty of obtaining by false pretense? Is she lying? Is she saying the truth? A lot of people are saying that she's telling lies. But so far, it has not been confirmed that she is actually telling lies. And if peradventure she is, any of the persons who contributed can bring an action against her for obtaining by false pretense. But it will be so sad that she came out, she cried out, and nobody supported her because of her past, and finally, God forbid, something bad happens to her. I mean, it will be so sad. And I pray that if this is true, that God will see her through this challenging time and make available all that she would need to recuperate and come out strong. Now, I just want to put it out there that I'm sure that this Blessings incident would have taught us a few things, and the first thing is to be careful about what we put out online. What we do on the social media space is very important, because you might just be sowing a seed that will speak for you tomorrow. You never can tell. You might just think that the social media space is a place that you can just come, nobody will beat you, they will not even know where you are, nobody will do anything to you, you just come and do whatever you want to do and go away. I've heard a story that of someone who wanted to travel to a country, and she didn't even know that they actually went through her social media account and found out that she said a few things negative about that country before that time that she wanted to travel a long time ago, and they fished it out and denied her entry. I think they even banned herself from entering the country. So most of us play with the information that we put out on the social media space. You don't know that the social media does not forget. You might just put it out there and would have forgotten, but somebody one day can dig it out and use it either for you or against you. So I'm sure that this Blessing CEO story will teach us to be careful about what we put out there. It's very important. Some people will be looking for a political position, and in the course of that, they will go and dig out their past history. Yes, it's not good to work with somebody's past, but in criminal trials, there is a principle of similar facts. If there is a trend that this person has been doing this thing for a period of time, there's every likelihood that now the person will be guilty of the same act. So similar facts apply in criminal trial. Okay, so in as much as you want people to forget your past, let it not enter into the social media space. A lot of people are working against Blessing because so many times she has come out to lie. In fact, what actually announced her existence on the social media space was even through a lie. She went to someone's building and took pictures there, came out to claim that the building was hers, came out to claim that the building was hers, and finally it turned out that it wasn't hers. That was her debut entry into the social media space, and you can imagine that kind of foundation and that kind of record. A lot of people will keep digging it out and using it against her. So let's be careful. At least with this thing, we'll learn that what we put on the social media space is never forgotten. People are ready to dig it out and possibly use it against us. So let's just be careful out there. And then another thing too that I also learned from this incident too is the fact that some people are talking about karma working against her, karma and the rest, that karma is working against her and all that. And I can remember too, it's still the same. It still boils down to what we put out on social media space. When she mentioned that, if she wants a man, that instead of snatching the man from his wife, that she will send the wife 6 feet down and take the man. And it turns out now that the man that she is with, the man's wife went 6 feet down, and the reason the news out there at the time she died was because of infidelity. You understand? Was because of infidelity that the man's wife is 6 feet down. So, and then immediately you are with the man and you are just flaunting him all over the internet, and and people dug it out and said, for this person to do this kind of thing, why should we allow her to live? Now, she might not be the reason why the man's wife died, or she might not be the one who sent him down, sent her down the ground and all that, but because of her confession, let us be careful of what we say. Let us be careful of what we say. A lot of people are facing criminal liability because of what they have said with their mouth. You're claiming. Who are you trying to prove? What are you trying to prove? Who are you trying to impress? That you are a very strong person, that if you want to take a man, you will send the wife 6 feet down. What message are you passing out there? How can the younger generation learn from you? And so that is another reason why the other set of people who are finding it difficult to believe her are reluctant to help her. They're saying that maybe karma just came quite early. I mean, somebody that made this kind of claim, why should we allow her to stay alive? These are the issues. These are the issues. Now, yes, we want a lot of views, we want attention, we want to grow our page, but how you do that, how you go about it matter a lot. It's not just about the end result, it is the means. The means to that end matters a lot. Let's be careful. I'm actually new on this social media space. Yes, I'm actually new, but I am eager. I'm really eager to grow. I'm so eager to grow, okay? Because I feel I have so much for the world out there. I feel I have a lot to give out, okay? So I want to grow my space to the extent that I will have a lot of people that are willing to, receive all the knowledge and all that I have inside of me. So I'm willing to grow, but that doesn't mean that I would neglect the means to that end. No. And that doesn't mean that I actually want everybody in my space. There are people that my space is actually meant for, and those are the people that I want to attract. You can't attract everybody. No, now if you attract everybody, if you're able to attract everybody, you have to check your life. Something is wrong somewhere. So that's another thing that we need to also learn from this story now, from Blessing CEO story. It looks quite simple and ordinary, and a lot of people think that that is something that would pass, that people are wicked, can't you help her? But history matters a lot, and it's an incident that everyone should learn from, especially people on the social media space. Let's be careful. Be careful about what you put out there. These days, embassies are checking social media spaces. Embassies are checking even workplaces. Most times when you go for job application, they will tell you that they will get back to you probably when you have finished when they are finished examining you. They will tell you they will get back to you, and the next thing they are doing is going to your social media to find out character. These days, people don't just employ intellect, they employ character. I remember when I was applying for a particular job, one thing that stood out and one thing that made me to get that job was because the man said, you're not the best on the team. Yes, you are among the top best, but you are not better than the other people. What stood you out was because somebody spoke about your character. And yes, we want brains, but we want character. So it does appear that what this generation is really after is just the money. Nobody is building legacy, nobody is building character. Everyone is just chasing anyhow we need to get it. Now look at somebody that came to my life and the person is telling me to stand up, let me see your body, turn around. Is that why I'm here? Didn't you see my channel page, Laws and Scriptures? Didn't you see my channel page? You clicked on Laws and Scriptures and you're telling me to show you nude. That's the level of decadence that we have here. And immediately I told him that that's not why I'm here. You see that he's off. In fact, immediately I said that's not why I'm here. I don't have anybody viewing again. It's 0 viewer. Nobody is watching me because I cannot show nude, which I will not show. Okay? So let's learn from this. Organizations now are checking your character on the internet, apart from your intellect. So you can be smart and you will still lose a job because of bad character. That's true. So let's be careful out there. And then I also pray that I also hope, me self, I'm even hoping that her information is a lie. At least let her be well. But if it's true, I pray that she recovers and learns her lesson as well from this incident, learns her lesson and turn a new leaf, um I I don't know if anybody has any question for me. Do you have any question for me? Does anybody have any question before we talk about something else? Does anybody have any question? I just wish that there are Nigerians on this live stream so that I want to believe that they will come back. Some of them will watch this after now, you know, so that they can get the message I'm about to talk about. Now, yesterday I was talking with someone that I would say is a potential client. I don't know if we'll be able to close out on that brief, but I took out something from my conversation with him, and he was talking about land encroachment and what possible steps could they take to prevent encroachment and subsequent takeover of their land. And I had to confirm if the land that in question actually belongs to them, because if you're claiming encroachment, it means that the land, if you're claiming trespass, it means that the item that is being trespassed upon is yours. Okay, so I had to confirm first, does the land belong to you? The land that you claim they are trespassing on, does it belong to you, or it belongs to your mom or dad, or how did you come about owning this land? And he went further to say that the land was bought by the father for his mother, okay? That the father bought the land for his mother. Now, I went further to ask him, okay, so how do you know that your father bought the land? And by the way, he also mentioned that his father is actually late. His father just died, and that the father bought the land from the community, like a communal land. I'm going to do a video on this. I'm also going to do a video on how to acquire interest in land and what things we could look out for. Okay, so I went further to ask him, so how do you know that your father actually bought this land for your mother? And guess what? He said that because his mother signed on it, and that the mother signed when the father bought the land, that the mother was among the people who signed. I said, can you help me check the documents to know where she signed? Did she sign in the place where they wrote purchaser or assigner, or did she sign in the place where they wrote witness? So he checked and told me that she signed in the portion that was titled, as in labeled, witness. And I said, unfortunately, your dad, I'm so sorry to announce to you that if your dad told your mother that he bought this land for her, he lied to her, he deceived her. Your dad bought the land for himself and lied to your mother that he bought it for her, and in order to make it look like he bought it for her, he told her to sign, and unfortunately she did not understand. She signed on the portion that is labeled witness, meaning that she did not buy the land. She was just a witness to the transaction between your dad, the purchaser, and the owner of the land, as it were, the vendor, the person who sold to your dad. you know, and he was so shocked and he was devastated. I said, yes, that land belongs to your dad, and that is why you cannot see the title document, because your dad will take his landed property and you take the document. If he actually bought it for your mom, he would have given it to her. Well, he took it from her because it's not hers. So the land that you are claiming that is being encroached upon is not yours. We don't even know if your dad has sold it to the people that are encroaching, that you are calling trespassers. You're not sure. Get your facts straight. You know. And you know, it just made me to, hey, Albert. Albert, it's been a while. How are you? Peace and grace be unto you too, and unto your family and everything that you do. Hello, Albert, how now? I'm almost rounding up. Oh. I'm almost wrapping up. How are you doing? How was your day? It's been a long time. So I just decided to bring it out here that please, if you are executing or you are buying or selling, get your legal practitioner.